Good evening, Christopher Eubank Jr. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well. I feel like I've spent the last third of the year talking about you.
Yeah, there's been a few things that have gone on. Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more talk actually over the coming months. But yeah, I guess it's not a bad thing.
No, no, it's not a bad thing, but in all my reviews of the year at the moment, the Olympic boxing being lost, the scoring of the Jack Catterall Josh Taylor fight, and Christopher Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn are just such massive talking points from the year in boxing. Um, it's kind of a weird, as a boxing correspondent, it's been a really weird narrative to the end of the year. You know, I mean, I asked it to you the other day when I spoke to you. It's a very peculiar 3, 4 months you've gone through, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up, and the crazy thing is, there's still so many unanswered questions even after all this time. Which is pretty incredible that so many people are still left with so many so much information that's still needed to be given to the public, to the fans, to me, um, to the fighters that missed out on their paydays that day. Um, we're all still left in the dark at the moment, and it's
Do you
been
feel shortchanged though as well? Because it was going to be one of the biggest paydays I imagine that you've had.
absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is, I actually, obviously at the time, yeah, shortchanged would have been disappointed, frustrated, disgusted, um, all words that I would have used. But, you know, looking back at it now, you know, the fight, the fight will still happen at some point, whether that's next year or the year after or 10 years from now, it will still happen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, and when it does, I'm gonna get twice as much as I was gonna get. It's twice as big. It's a stadium fight. Um, so if you look at it from a business perspective, um, I can't really feel shortchanged actually. Um, uh, and another
And you'll
crazy.
fight at middleweight because you'll set the demands, as you've
Yeah,
told.
yeah. No, he's lost all his privileges. There is no 157 anymore. Um, and I'm not under any illusion that I wasn't going to get booed into that arena. I was going to get booed into that O2 arena. I accepted that. I maybe played a part in that role. But yeah, I accepted it. But if we were to fight tomorrow, there's 60,000 people or however many people are at the stadium, wouldn't they'd be cheering for me? I believe, which is crazy to think how quickly the tides can change. Um, I think I've actually gained more fans from not fighting him than I would have if I had fought him,
Yeah.
which is pretty. How does that ever happen? But the what went down, it put it put me in a position to actually gain his fans. You know, when you beat another fighter, usually it's still like, oh, all right, well, he won, but I still don't like him because, I was a Conor Benn fan. I wanted it to win, so, screw him. But a lot of fans have kind of jumped ship, or they've switched over because, they've lost all respect for what he did in failing these two drug tests and, going MIA for 3 months. Um, so it was terrible having to go through a camp It was terrible having to, cut the weight, knowing I wasn't going to fight. But on the flip side, there are some, very positive things that have come from this for me. So, everything happens for a reason. That's all I can really say.
It does, whether you believe in that destiny and fate or not, it does, and it all comes around. You put out a kind of, was it a kind of yawning emoji at the statement from Conor Benn this week, a large statement. The day before, I had the opportunity to sit down with. I'd spoken to Mauricio Sulaiman a couple of days earlier, actually, I think, and he'd revealed a 270-page document from Conor Benn to the WBC Cares program for the first doping test in July. And Conor had put out a big statement, and you put a kind of a yawning emoji, was it?
Boring. Too little, too late. A long statement that really said absolutely nothing. No one cares. No one cares about, you're talking about your family and spending Christmas and thank you for everyone that stuck by me. Nobody gives a shit. Sorry. You got caught with illegal substances and you went missing for 3 months. So, if you're innocent, you don't go into hiding, one. And it doesn't matter how many scientists and how many lawyers and how many pages you want to, send over to the public and to the board and to whoever else is that you think you've got to try and prove your innocence to. After 3 months of radio silence, you can't tell anybody anything. The public opinion is set in stone now. Anything short of a video coming out of you being pinned down and screaming and shouting and crying as someone jabs you in the ass with with some type of syringe, anything other than that, no one's going to believe it. No one cares. All people want is an apology. They want you to accept and man up. You made a mistake, and you did make the mistake. Even if you're innocent, you're still guilty, in my opinion. It's every man's job to watch, what goes into their system. So even if you were tricked, it's still your fault. You still cheated. That's how the public will see it. So that's really what you've got to accept and come to terms with. Playing the victim is just not going to work. It's just not, and it's gonna keep people rooting against you for the rest of your career, and it's going to keep people being your enemy. That's what he needs to do at this stage. Is he needs to embrace being the bad guy. In my opinion, he needs to do what I've done for 10 years. Embrace the chaos and the booing, the spitting, the drink throwing, the online trolling, all of that, everything that comes with being a villain in people's eyes. Embrace it, because that's what you are now, and there's no getting away from it. You can't do what you did and then go back to being the hero. You just can't. But being a villain isn't so bad. People are still going to watch you fight. You're still going to make a lot of money. You're still going to have, you're still going to have a profile in the sport. Yeah, that's how I see it. That's how I see it. Whether it's wrong or whether it's right, that's what it is. Once you've done something, it's very hard to change people's opinions, especially 270 pages of whatever and scientists is just not going to cut it, in my opinion.
What's your reaction to 270 pages, though, that Mauricio Suleiman revealed? I mean, that's a massive document, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive waste of people's time. But listen, he's young, he's dumb, he doesn't understand life, I guess. This is a life thing. This isn't a boxing thing anymore. This is just being a man. You know, this is just manning up, biting the bullet, accepting what you've done, which has failed 2 drugs tests, and praying for forgiveness from your peers, from the public. You know, earning that forgiveness. That's the only way you can get. That's the only way you can come back from this. Is earning his position back. You're not going to earn it back by submitting 270 pages. You're just not.
Do you feel that you should have been informed about the July test? Because was the fight signed by that point in July?
Absolutely, I should have been informed. I was informed. I was informed about one failed drugs
That was
test.
in September, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10 days before the fight. By that time, I've gone through a whole camp. By that time, this is the biggest fight in the UK, and there's billboards and TV. You know, the TV's been shot. The programs have been out. You know, we've gone on the news. And I'm confident. You know, that 60% wasn't bullshit. It was real.
I believe you. You rarely say things you don't not believe.
So, you know, I looked at it as I've come this far. I don't care what he's done. I'm still going to beat him. So yeah, let's do it, and we'll deal with it afterwards. I guess that was my mentality at the time. You know, what could I do? I couldn't. You know, even if I didn't want to fight, which I did, what was I going to do? All right, so I pull out, and then I would have looked like a complete asshole, because you know the whole Ben team and Eddie and Matcham and DAZN, they would have all said, oh well, you know, we're ready to fight, and you know, none of this was public information, so I wouldn't have been able to prove that he's failed a drugs test, you know, so it would have been, oh, Eubank's pulled out, he's bottled it. You know, that's all I was seeing for the whole fight. This isn't going to happen. Chris is going to pull out from an injury, or, you know, he's scared, or all this stuff. So I was never going to put myself in a position like that to just, you know, for me to pull the plug. You know, it was only when the public finally found out 48 hours before that, you know, it was able to be stopped. And even then, I didn't really want it to be stopped, because, you know, I'm 2 days away from a fight.
Has it taken a lot to get over it?
I wouldn't even say that.
Because you've got another guy on your mind. I mean, thankfully, you've got another fight straight away, and it'd be remiss of me not to mention. You know, the last time I spoke to you, you're just about to go face to face with Liam Smith.
Yeah, I mean,
in person.
It was strange. You know, the moment I found out that the fight was 100% not happening, yeah, there were questions that were asked of me of basically how we can make this go ahead. And you know, I had a set of demands. If I was going to go forward with the fight, now that the public knew, and if they weren't met, then yeah, I said, listen, that's it, because now I have the safety net. Now, if the fight doesn't happen, I'm not the bad guy, because everybody knows what's happened. So I'm going to use this to my advantage now. Absolutely. The demands weren't met, and you know, it got to a point where I was like, all right, well, you know, this is what we can do, and you know, if that doesn't happen, if you don't accept that, then it's off. And I said, oh, it's off then. And that's when I knew 100% that it was not happening.
Mm.
And I didn't have, you know, all the money and all the time that went into this and everything. When that moment clicked, when I knew, wow, the fight's really not going to happen, I didn't have this I didn't have this disgusting, horrible feeling in my heart. And I was thinking, like, why don't I feel a type of way about what's really just happened?
Well, because you know it's the right decision morally and ethically.
That's what it came down to.
Yeah,
That's
good
when I
man, good man.
it
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah,
This should be hurting. I'm about to lose so much money here, and I've
yeah.
wasted so much time, and people are, you know, so going to be so upset. But it didn't. There was no pain in my heart, so I knew, yeah, this is the right thing. It's the right thing. This is the right move. And now looking back on it, absolutely it was. You know, morally and from a business perspective, because again, the fight will happen at some point further down the line. I will be 100% the A side. I will call the shots. Everything will be on my terms, and you know, it'll be in a Wembley instead of an O2. So yeah, everything happens for a reason.
I hope boxing learns from this and we learn more transparency as well, because it's been
Yes,
tough for the sport.
yeah. There's so many things that happen that shouldn't have happened and that still don't make sense. You know, the guys failed 2 drugs tests, and you know, me as a fighter and as my own manager to only find out 10 days before is just nuts. It's crazy. And on top of that, you know, the fight is then allowed to continue to be promoted and everything's put in place. The board is not doing anything to stop it, not saying anything to anybody. And then it gets leaked by somebody 48 hours before. And it, you know, is if it hadn't have been leaked, would the fight have gone ahead? Who knows? Would the board have let the fight go ahead, knowing that, you know, would Eddie,
They
you know,
say no, that they made a decision on the Tuesday night. They say no, that they made a decision.
made a decision on Tuesday night after knowing for 3 months?
Yeah, yeah,
It's bullshit, if you ask me.
yeah.
We know Eddie and Wasserman and Matchroom and they would have let it go ahead. You know, um, these are still questions still that I don't know 100%. You know, um, how long Eddie and Matchroom and DAZN withheld the first failed drug tests in July, how long they held that information from my team in Wasserman and Calais. I don't know how, if he knew. He says he doesn't. There's no real way of me knowing at this stage. You know, we're going to get to the bottom of it, hopefully, at some point.
I remind you of a great saying from one of the great fighters uh, of my age. It's a mug's game.
Yeah, no, it really is. If you're not in the power positions, absolutely. You know, if you're not controlling the business aspect of things, if you're just, you know, if you're the footmat, if you're one of the guys, if you're the fall guy, which so many of these guys are, you know, they're putting their lives on the line and they're getting all this money taken from them, and you know so many people are making so much money off of the fighters, and they're not putting anything at risk. You know, they're just sitting down at their desks, you know, writing out whatever they need to write and making the phone calls, and they're making sometimes more money than the guy who's getting in the ring. So when you look at it like that, and this has been happening for years since the sport began, yeah, I can completely understand my father saying it's a mug's game. We've seen it. We're seeing it now. You know, my job as a fighter is to just make sure that, you know, I can be, you know, the smallest mug as I can possibly be.
Chris,
I'm gonna get mugged off somewhere.
yeah.
I'm gonna, you know, somewhere I'm gonna be being a mug, but no, I'm just gonna make sure I can be the smallest mug.
More the mugger than the mugged, yeah. The PR Supreme has come on. He doesn't realise that we get into these deep ones, me and you normally. Can I just ask one very brief one, just to end off? I've gone way over time, and I apologise, Joe. Chris and I do get into these ones because we do always go narrow and deep, and I appreciate you, Chris. How did it feel when you went face to face with Liam? Because it's a fantastic style matchup. It'd be remiss of me not to have one answer on that. I mean, it looks like a terrific fight in styles. How did it feel when you guys went face to face?
It was exciting. It was real. This is a real fight. You know, we had like a media thing a couple of days before the press conference where I met him for the first time, and you know, since I sparred with him 6-7 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
And we did this promo that's been going out, and we had to do this face off, and it was literally the longest face off I've ever had with another human being. It was crazy. It got stupid at one point. We were just having to like just stand in front of each other and stare while all these cameras are filming, and it's just minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes. It was really weird. But we both didn't flinch. We both kept our composure. You know, I respected him for that, because a lot of fighters would have just probably just been like, all right, I've had enough now. As I was thinking that in my head, this is getting stupid. But yeah, you know, it's a real fight, and it's an exciting fight. I think this is the most fun I'm going to have in a fight. You know, for a long time. Just the styles that we have. I love the inside fighting. I love the chess that can be played on the inside. You know, real chess, not the you know,
rugged chess.
Yes, that type of chess, not the jabbing and moving and oh, don't hit me. You know, the weaving and the uppercuts and the hooks and the in close combat chess, that type of chess, which you don't see a lot of anymore. You used to see it all the time back in the day. Guys would just stand toe to toe. It's not so much a thing anymore. You know, we have the opportunity to do that for the fans, so it's going to be fun.
Lovely. Listen, have a great Christmas and a very happy New Year. Don't eat too much turkey and all those sweet things. Look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thanks for the time as always. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Joe.
All right, guys. Thanks.